Three ladies are hanging out at the park separately. One of them is the owner of this cat. Can you guess who? The cat belongs to the blonde lady. It tore her t-shirt. Lucy lives in an apartment building. She returns home from work, but she can't get inside because someone changed the password for the combination lock on the door. Can you help her get inside? There's a hint on this piece of paper. You need to move all the digits exactly one position back. And this is how we get the code. 8, 1, 5, 3. Lucy gets a message from her sister. She sent her a picture of her nephew. Can you find any mistakes here? The bucket handle is attached to the bottom. Lucy is an actress. She goes to an important audition at a large production company. In the lobby, she meets other actors: Bob, Nellie, Sally, and Kelly. Bob has a crush on one of these ladies. Can you guess who? All three ladies show some non-verbal signals of attraction. But take a look at Bob's body language. His torso is directed towards Nellie, so he's probably attracted to her. Lucy wanders around the lobby and sees these 4 posters on the wall. Which image doesn't belong here? Except for the bicycle need fuel, so it's extra. After the audition, Lucy is heading to the parking lot. Find her Volkswagen car there. Search the mall, find 3 suspects, and question them. Doing here? Karen says, I'm looking for a wedding dress for my sister. Kyle says, I'm just doing my weekly groceries as usual. And Pam says, honestly, I came here for the sake of visiting the restroom. Who's lying? Karen. What kind of bride would trust someone else to choose her wedding dress? The next day, Lucy goes to another audition. She enters the lobby and immediately spots a guest from another planet among these people. Can you see it too? Over here. Lucy is meeting her father, Roger. He has just returned from a very cool trip. He rode to the countryside to see a famous tourist spot on Thursday. Roger loved the place and decided to stay for a few days. He spent 4 days there and returned home on Thursday. How come? Easy. He rode a horse, and its name was Thursday. Roger brought Lucy a gift from his trip. Here's a hint to guess what's inside the box. When you say goodbye, I'm what you need to tie. I come as a couple and go wherever you run. Who am I? Shoes. Lucy and Roger are starving. Thankfully, the cook has just finished baking fresh bagels. Can you spot which one is different from the others? Each bagel has 6 white and 7 black sesame seeds on top. Each except this one. It has 7 white seeds and 6 black. After dinner, Lucy and Roger go for a walk. Can you guess why Lucy is looking behind? The guy's nose is very similar to Roger's. She suspects that her father might have a secret son. Lucy enters the door and sees a creepy secret lab with a caged monster. The door behind her slams shut, and now Lucy needs to get around an electric trap to escape. What lever does she need to press to do so? This one is just a light switch, and this lever will release the monster. So Lucy needs the third one. Lucy turns off the trap and enters the next room. She looks around and sees a metal door, but unfortunately, it's locked. And it requires not just one password, but 3. Lucy has just one attempt to make it right. She finds a sign with 3 words next to the door: happy, coffee, and paper. Can you guess the passwords for each keyhole? Let's take a closer look at the shapes of each keyhole and the shapes of the passwords. Some letters are bigger than others, and each word can fit right in one of the holes. So coffee should be put in the first keyhole. Paper fits into the second one, and the happy word is perfect for the third keyhole. Lucy finishes the job earlier and decides to surprise Sam. She arrives at the mountain village where Sam should currently be, and questions the locals. The car mechanic says, "I haven't seen any strangers recently. You should ask the barista." The barista says, "Sorry, I don't remember any new faces in my coffee shop." And then Lucy comes across an abandoned farm. Its owner says, "I've been living here on my own for a year now. I don't let strangers step on my land and especially into my house." Who's lying? Let's take a closer look at the land around the farmer's house. There are 2 pairs of fresh footprints. These lead in and out of the house, but the second pair of footprints only leads inside the house. Therefore, the farmer is having a guest. But he said he didn't let anyone in, therefore he's a liar. Lucy continues her journey and sees 2 ladies in the countryside. They seem to be alone, but are they? 3 faces are hiding in this picture. Can you find them? Here they are. The ladies tell Lucy that Sam went to the mountains. She follows his route and soon comes across a surreal mountain with carvings that look like animals. Can you spot 8 horses in this picture? Here they are. Lucy goes up the mountain and finds a fancy spa hotel. Lucy finds Sam in the hotel restaurant. They're having dinner with a stunning view. Can you spot anything odd here? Watermelons don't grow on trees. The cook brings the guys the best meals. But let's take a closer look at this picture. There's something wrong here. Can you guess what? There's a cockroach under the table. The local music band begins a concert in the restaurant. Lucy takes 2 pictures. Can you spot 3 differences between them? Here they are. Lucy and Sam pack some fruits and water and go explore the local caves. And eventually, they get lost. They wander around for a while and find 3 doors leading outside the caves. But each door has a hidden surprise. There's a family of hungry elephants behind the first door. The second door is filled with toxic gas that is fatal for any mammal. And behind the third door, there's a booth that teleports people to random galaxies. Which way is more or less safe? The guys should choose the first door. Elephants don't eat humans. They like grass and fruits. So Lucy and Sam can distract the animals by giving them the fruits and escape. Lucy decides to visit the local hot springs. She locks her stuff in the dressing room and goes bathing. Unfortunately, someone breaks into her locker while she's chilling. Her gold watch is gone. Lucy questions 3 ladies standing nearby. Nina says, "I'm a millionaire. I can buy anything." Alice says, "It wasn't me. I think it was Nina." And Ashley says, "We should call the police. My earrings are gone too." Who's the thief? Ashley. Take a look at her hair bun. She hid the stolen watch inside it.
Okay, here we go. One of these guys is a time traveler. Can you guess who? There's a smartphone on the floor. It fell out of this guy's pocket. So he's the time traveler. Miss Charles is a famous chemist. Someone kidnapped her from her own lab. The police study the crime scene and find no evidence, other than a piece of paper with abbreviations for chemical elements and molecules. They question the only people who came to her lab on the day of the kidnapping: fellow scientist Nicholas, her boyfriend Austin, and her sister Alice. The police arrest one of the witnesses right away. How did they know who it was? There's a very obvious clue on the piece of paper. If you combine the abbreviations of the chemical substances, you'll get a name: OSTIN. George fell from a 100-foot ladder, but he didn't get hurt. How is this possible? Well, he was on the first step. Leah is sunbathing at the beach. She takes a little nap. Then she wakes up and finds out that her precious antique bracelet is gone. Leah gets furious. She finds 7 suspects at the beach. One of them is the thief. Can you guess who? Only the fisherman could have stolen it without leaving any footprints on the sand. Shelley and Kelly are sisters. Shelley lives alone, while Kelly lives with her boyfriend. Can you guess who is who? The woman on the left looks like she's making a meal for one person. She's Shelley. Meanwhile, the woman on the right has a big pot full of soup. So she's Kelly. Take a look at this picture. How many ways can you read the word tiger? Tiger can be read in 60 ways in the given picture. The easiest way to count is to start with the letter T in the center, and then move to the neighboring letter vertically or horizontally. Peter is exploring old caves outside the city. Suddenly, he gets trapped in a mysterious dungeon. There are 3 ways out, but only one of them is safe. Behind the first door, there's a raging fire. Behind the second door, there's acid rain, which could melt any substance within seconds. Behind the third door, there's a huge brown bear that hasn't eaten in 2 years. Which way should Peter choose? He should enter the third door. No animal can go for 2 years without food. An important final exam is taking place in the local college. One of the students is cheating. Can you spot who? It's this guy. He has answers on his arm. Jules is making her way through the forest. She can see the river ahead, but before she reaches it, Jules needs to solve a problem with a pack of wolves. They're slowly surrounding Jules. She comes up with 3 ideas. Press against the tree and quickly climb it, use matches to make a fire on the ground and scare away the wolves, and the third idea is to splash water in different directions. What's the best course of action? Wolves are afraid of fire, but Jules doesn't have enough time to make it. And water is useless in this case, so Jules should find a tall tree and climb it. Emperor Kyle rules one faraway galaxy. He looks after all the planets in it. One day, someone broke into his palace and stole the blueprint of a new gadget. This gadget should create the first planet with oxygen. Emperor Kyle is sure that the robber is among the kings who rule the largest planets in his galaxy. He immediately calls them for interrogation. King from Planet M says, "I was too busy recently. The locals on my planet are moving to a new apartment district." King from Planet B replies, "There was a fire on my planet. I put the fire out on my own. Thankfully, it's over now." And the ruler of Planet Q says, "I've been feeling really sick recently, so I didn't even want to fly to this meeting." Who is lying? It's the king from Planet B. As we mentioned, there's no oxygen on any of the planets in this galaxy. This means there can be no fire. Nora arrives at her office early in the morning. Wow! Someone left a fruit basket on the desk. Oh no, did I forget someone's birthday? She works with 3 colleagues, Tyler, Chris, and Amanda. Nora checks their profiles to find out who's having a birthday today, but nobody. All the co-workers arrive later and Nora questions them. Tyler says, "I've nothing to do with this basket. I'm allergic to most fruits." Chris says, "Give me a break. I was partying all night, so I didn't have time to send silly gifts." And Amanda says, "Wow, I think it was Chris. He's totally crushing on you. He confessed to me last week." Who's lying? Tyler. Take a look at the takeaway smoothie that he's holding. It's full of fruits, so he lied about his allergy. Holly's walking down the street. Suddenly, someone snatches a bag from her hands and runs away. Luckily, it happened right in front of the police department. A policeman on the porch notices the crime, and he begins to chase the thief, who runs into the local hospital. It's very crowded here. Can you help the policeman find the thief among these people? There's definitely something wrong with this guy. He's holding stuff that belongs to different doctors, a dentist, an ophthalmologist, and a surgeon. The thief tried too hard to pretend to be a doctor. Andrew and Rose are getting married. They're looking for the perfect place to celebrate. Their agent shows the guys 4 options. Can you help them choose the best one? Let's take a look at the first option. Some chairs have missing legs. It doesn't seem safe. Snakes are crawling in the flower decoration in the 3rd space. And there's a water puddle around the bathroom in the 4th restaurant. So, Andrew and Rose should pick the second option. Luke invites his best friend Nancy to the restaurant. He's very nervous because he wants to ask her to be his girlfriend. They finish a delicious dessert, and Luke is about to ask the question. Suddenly, Nancy's phone rings. She leaves the table. In a couple of minutes, she returns, and Luke notices the difference in Nancy right away. She has a vampire bite on her neck and sharp teeth. Luke wants to catch the vampire who did it. He finds 4 suspects. Who bit Nancy? These 2 people have red lipstick on their faces. They were just kissing. And the chef is making a strawberry cake. So this guy is a vampire. Alex runs a small shoe repair shop. On Friday night at around 9 p.m., Alex leaves his office and goes to the parking lot. Oh no! Someone scratched his car. Alex questions 3 witnesses to figure out who did it. Sandra says, "I was heading to the coffee shop to get some espresso. I can't sleep. I have to get ready for my finals." Mike says, "I spent all day at the farmer's market. That was awesome. You should check it out too. It's held every Sunday." And Nina says, "My car is over here and it's fine. I don't know who scratched yours because I just arrived." One of them is lying. Can you guess who? Mike. He said the farmer's market was held every Sunday, but it's Friday night. Claire is having an audition today, but first she needs to fix her car to go there. 3 mechanics offer their help, but 2 of them are fake mechanics. Can you spot who exactly? The second guy's watch looks pretty expensive. It's too risky to wear them while working. And the third guy's nails are too long for this job. Claire should pick the first guy. Frank is a private investigator. He receives a task to secretly check this office. Can you spot Frank? Over here. What about this location? Can you find Frank? He's hiding in a trash bin.
The most important holiday of the year is coming. So, the king asked his loyal helper Merlin to make sure nothing can ruin the celebration. However, the following day, Merlin received an anonymous letter claiming that the royal jewels had been stolen and they knew where to look for them. The thing is, the young Princess Meredith cares a lot about these jewels, and without them, she won't attend the main ball. In the letter, there was only one sentence. Only these potent creatures can help you. Can you guess where to look for the jewels? The letter was clearly anonymous, but the author used the pseudonym Dracula. The letter is written in red ink, which looks pretty much like blood. Seems like the vampires were after the jewels. Merlin realized he had no time to lose and headed to the woods where supposedly vampires lived. He rode his horse for a couple of hours and stumbled upon a seemingly forlorn castle. Should Merlin come in? Does anyone live there? Even though the castle is covered in spiderwebs and seems like it's been abandoned years ago, look up! There's a dim candlelight in one of the windows. Merlin noticed it too and ventured in. When Merlin entered the castle, he didn't spot anything on the first floor. Then, he saw 2 different stairs leading to the east and west aisles. Which one is safe to climb? Look, some of the stairs on the western staircase are broken. Merlin should use the eastern stairs. Once he climbed the stairs, he saw a room with inviting light. He heard laughter and someone speaking. He entered the room and saw 4 people. One of them must be a vampire. Can you guess who? A guy in a blue gown has a vampire's bite on his neck, so technically he's a vampire, but he's newly converted, so he's unlikely to know anything about the jewels. The lady serving the turkey is wearing a bunch of silver jewelry, so she can't be one. The guy sitting at the table is reflected in the mirror right in front of him, so the real vampire is the blonde lady. Plus, look at her glass. She's drinking blood. Merlin came up to the blonde lady and showed her the letter. She instantly stood up, winked at Merlin, and invited him to follow her. They entered another room, and the vampire lady said,
I'm Isolde, and this is my playroom. If you want to get the royal jewels back, you gotta play with me. Are you into hide and seek?
Boom! Isolde turned into a bat and flew away. Can you help Merlin find her? There are many bats in this room. There's one on the cupboard, another one on the curtains, and one more on the table. But they're all figurines, and only one of them has a trembling wing. Did you spot it? It's hiding behind the chair. Since Merlin did find Isolde, she couldn't but return the jewels back. So she said they were locked up in a safe. Isolde took Merlin to the room where the safe was, but she said he needed to guess the password. Can you help him guess it and open the safe? Looks like Isolde forgot to hide the note with the password. It's right there above the desk. So the password is 6090. Ah, look at these jewels. Merlin headed back to his home kingdom. Once he returned to the castle, he hid the jewels in the king's safe. When the celebration day finally came, the king opened the safe and got terrified. Why? There's a diamond missing from the crown, but Merlin brought it back a perfectly untouched crown, so somebody from the royal staff must have stolen this diamond. Very few people knew the password for the safe. It was Henry, the housekeeper, Jack, the royal counselor, and Merlin. We all know who Merlin is. The king called the three men to question each of them. The king asked if they had opened the safe to look at the jewels. Henry said he never knew the crown with the diamonds was in the safe. Jack said that he'd been away running some royal errands the previous day, so he couldn't have stolen anything. Merlin said he had spent the previous day preparing for the big day together with the queen. Who's guilty? While Merlin and Jack's version seem plausible, Henry's version seems a bit off. The king never mentioned the crown. He only asked about the jewels, but Henry gave himself away. He's guilty. Henry couldn't deny he was guilty, so he had to confess that he pawned the diamond as he needed the money. The king couldn't go to the pawn shop to retrieve the valuable stone, so he sent Merlin to do that. When Merlin arrived at the pawn shop, he asked the owner, Mr. Juleson, whether he bought any gems in the last few days. Mr. Juleson said he bought 3 large stones and showed them to Merlin. Can you guess which one is the real royal diamond? Even though at first glance these 3 gems look the same, there's a small mark on one of them. Look, there's a tiny letter R engraved on this stone. Merlin thought that R stood for royal, so he bought the diamond and brought it back to the king. It's finally the celebration day. All the people of the kingdom went to the festival, where they merrily danced and laughed. All of a sudden, the town got covered by a huge dark cloud. Bam! Out of nowhere, a wicked witch appeared, took the princess, and carried her away on her magic broom. She took the princess to a spooky forest and left her alone. Luckily, the princess had a magic pendant that could help her find her way back. The princess touched the pendant, and 3 spirit animals appeared: a butterfly, a hawk, and a caterpillar. What animal should the princess follow to get her back to her kingdom? If you were attentive enough, you might have noticed that at the festival, there were a lot of kingdoms blazons, all of them having a butterfly as their main symbol. Also, the princess has a butterfly embroidered on her dress. So her kingdom spirit animal is the butterfly, and she should follow it. On her way home, the princess stumbled upon one more witch. She didn't seem evil. On the contrary, she invited the princess to her house and offered her a drink. The witch told her she needed to choose between the 3 drinks. The thing was that only one of the drinks was not poisoned. The drinks were tea with sugar, a cappuccino, and hot chocolate. Which one do you think she should choose? Let's see, if it was indeed sugar in the tea, it would have melted completely, but the sugar cubes are still there. The foam on top of the cappuccino is suspiciously yellowish, so it's probably unsafe to drink. So the princess opted for hot chocolate, thanked the witch, and continued her way to her kingdom. When the princess finally went back home, the celebration went on. All of a sudden, 3 knights, Lancelot, Galahad, and Percival, came up to her to have a chat. The princess felt uncomfortable. It seemed to her that one of the knights wasn't a real person. Can you guess who? Yeah, at first glance, these are just 3 handsome knights. But take a closer look. Sir Percival has 6 fingers on each hand, and his ears are weirdly shaped. He must be an alien. The princess thought that if Percival is an alien, there must be more aliens at the festival. Can you spot all of them? The young princess has a sharp eye. There are 3 more aliens looking similar to Percival. Look, there's a woman holding the flowers. She has pointed ears just like Sir Percival. The old man on the left has a similar feature too, and the man in the center is an alien as well. Jacob comes home from work and finds out that his girlfriend Stella is missing. She never cooks, but she left this weird recipe on the table. Can you figure out where Stella is? These fractions imply the number of letters that we should take from each word on the list. L from the lettuce, O, N from the onion, D, O from the donut, and so on. And this way, we'll get the word London. So Jacob should look for his girlfriend in London. Jacob hits the road and goes to the airport, but unfortunately the main road is closed for repairs. He can only take one of these 3 routes instead. Can you help Jacob make the right choice? Only the 3rd route leads to the final destination. Jacob checks in for a flight, and he still has to check out the local boutiques. There's an imposter among these mannequins. Can you spot him? This one. His eyes are blinking. Hey! It's boarding time. Jacob walks down the airport and spots 4 odd things about this place. Can you see them too? One of the planes is parked vertically. This trash bin is moving on its own. The gate numbering has mirrored digits, and the vending machine is selling raw vegetables. Jacob is ready to take his seat. Suddenly, he faces a mysterious stewardess. She offers him a deal.
Sir, I have 3 boxes for you. If you pick the right one, the entire first class will be yours. If not, you'll be removed from the flight.
Can you figure out which box Jacob should choose? Let's take a closer look at the food emojis printed on the boxes. If we write out the first letters of each ingredient, we'll get false, right, and wrong. So Jacob should pick the second box. Jacob lands in London and goes to the city by train. Can you find 3 zombies in this car? Hello? Jacob checks into a hotel. There's a fancy wedding party going on in the hotel restaurant, but one of these people is not from this planet. Can you guess who? It's the bride. She has 3 hands. Jacob receives an invitation from his girlfriend's kidnapper. Come over and you'll see Stella. Jacob arrives at the meeting point and sees 4 doors. A creepy voice announces, "Your girlfriend is behind one of these doors. If you pick the right door, you're free to go. But if you make the wrong choice, you'll be trapped forever." Which door should Jacob choose? Each door has a line of symbols. If we take the first letter of each symbol, we can arrange 4 female names: Stella, Alice, Miranda, and Bianca. So, Jacob should pick the first door to rescue his girlfriend. Jacob takes Stella to the hotel and goes outside to get some coffee. Oh no, zombies are everywhere! Jacob and a couple of other hotel guests hide in a royal suite. He goes to the kitchen to check the food supply. Suddenly, Jacob hears someone screaming and runs to the living room. He sees a zombie who has already bitten one of the guests. Jacob locks the zombie in the bathroom, and now he has to figure out who's infected. Jacob questions all of them. Stella says, "I was sitting in the closet, and suddenly a zombie ran into the room." Peter says, "I smeared myself with garlic to make the zombies stay away." And Elon says, "I protected myself with a tennis racket. I carried it with me all day. That's why zombies didn't bite me." Who's lying? Peter, garlic protects from vampires, not zombies. Hey! Jacob and Stella return home safely. After a while, they decide to open a spa hotel outside the city. In the very first days, someone robs them and steals the most expensive beauty products. Jacob looks through the camera footage. He sees a masked person putting things from the storage into a bag and taking them away. Jacob knows for sure that the thief is among his employees, so he questions them. A massage therapist says, "Yesterday I went home early because my husband got sick. I returned in the morning to work." The manager says, "I didn't sleep all night because one demanding visitor constantly complained. I was solving his problems." And the nail artist says, "I had to wake up last night to do an emergency manicure for my client. She's having an important event early this morning." Can you spot the thief? It was the nail artist. Her sweater looks exactly the same as the thief's outfit in the camera footage, but she put on an apron on top. The next day, a weird thunderstorm happened in the area of the spa center. Some people received superpowers after looking at the lightning. Jacob decides to find all the superheroes to protect the other people from possible threats. Can you help him spot a superhero in this storage room? This guy's arm is too long. Can you see any superheroes in the lounge area? This cleaning lady is flying without any ropes. Jacob decides to visit the local pool. He leaves his clothes and backpack in a locker in the dressing room and goes swimming. After a while, Jacob returns. Oh no, someone broke the lock and stole his clothes. He decides to question 3 guys standing nearby. Elon says, I spent the last 30 minutes on an exercise bike, and now I'm headed to the shower. I didn't notice anything suspicious. Andrew says, I entered the dressing room a second ago. Your locker was already open. And Olaf says, I was washing my hair in the shower after the sauna, and I didn't hear anything at all. Who's lying? Olaf. If he's just washed his hair, why is it so dry? Jacob receives an emergency call from his manager. One of the guests is not from this planet. Can you spot who? This lady over here. Her skin tone is as green as her facial mask. Another mystery has occurred in the ladies' dressing room. Jessica complains to Jacob that someone has stolen her smartwatch. Jacob finds 3 suspects and questions them. Leah says, I was on the phone with my manager. I receive a 6-0 paycheck every month. Why would I need to steal gadgets? Melissa says, I've spent the last 2 hours in the sauna. I don't know what happened here. And Shannon says, I took a shower and then focused on my makeup. Sorry I didn't pay attention to the other guests. Who's lying? Melissa, take a look at the safety sign at the sauna entrance. It's forbidden to stay inside longer than 20 minutes. But according to Melissa's story, she spent 2 hours there. Liar! Jacob is heading to the parking lot, but the back door of the spa center is locked. Someone changed the 7-digit code. Can you guess the code to help Jacob open this door? There's a hint on the door. Each color corresponds with a particular number. Yellow implies 5, orange 2, red 6. So the last number of the code is 6. Stella has just purchased a fancy body lotion. She begins to test it, but something goes wrong. Stella is turning into a toad. Fortunately, she manages to call Jacob and tell him everything before it's too late. Jacob rushes to his witch buddy and gets a potion to turn Stella back into a human. But when he comes home, he sees not 1, but 7 toads. He has to figure out which one of these toads is Stella. Jacob finds a note, and here's what we know for sure. The correct toad isn't green, but it's next to a green one, and it's not next to the last toad in line. Can you find Stella? First of all, we can exclude all the green toads, and now we have 4 options left. The 7th toad is not next to the green one, so let's get rid of it too. Options 2 and 6 can also be excluded because they're both next to the last toads in line. So, Stella is the 4th toad.
So Jeff and Kelly met at college and eventually got married. For many years, their life together went well. Jeff had never been jealous of his wife for any reason, but lately, he's been noticing something strange about Kelly. So today, Jeff finally comes up with a plan. He waits until Kelly is asleep and checks the content of her bag to figure out what she's hiding. There are a few things in the bag: a hairbrush, lipstick, headphones, apartment keys, some notes, and a couple of hair bands. After the search, Jeff realizes that Kelly's seeing someone else. How did he know? Kelly and Jeff's keys are hanging over here. So these keys in Kelly's bag are definitely from some other apartment. Uh-oh, busted. Helga and Candy are sisters. but they haven't seen each other since early childhood. They lost their parents and ended up in different families and in different countries. And finally, today is the day of their reunion. Candy is about to fly from Thailand to meet Helga in the USA. Helga buys a gift and goes to the airport to meet Candy. She has never seen her grown-up sister, so she's having a hard time trying to find her among the passengers. One of these ladies is Candy. Can you guess who? This lady's outfit is too warm for Thailand, and this lady is wearing a t-shirt from Italy. So she probably just arrived from this country. And the fourth lady is a stewardess. So Candy is over here. A huge drama is taking place in the music school this morning. Someone broke into the piano teacher's office and robbed it. The detective arrives at the crime scene. No one had left the building since the robbery, so his task is to find the criminal as soon as possible. The detective questions 3 suspects. Luke says, "I was on the phone with my student's parents because he's pulling pranks all the time." Molly says, "I was playing my guitar and getting ready for class. Today, my students will learn a new song." And Bill says, "I was arguing with the cleaning lady. She always leaves dust on the floor." Who's the robber? Molly. Take a closer look at her guitar. It's missing a string. She left it at the crime scene. Can you find 3 emojis in this room? Here they are. Now what about this room? Can you spot 3 emojis? Over here. There's a beauty contest taking place in a small town. All contestants get stickers with their numbers. And now they're ready to start. Suddenly, the lights go off. When electricity is back again, everyone sees that the judge, Frank, is covered with paint. Frank is furious. He questions the suspects who were nearby when the lights went on. All of the ladies deny their guilt. But Frank quickly figures out who the prankster is. What about you? This lady dropped her number sticker when pulling the prank. She's the only one without it, so she must be guilty. Jessica has a superpower. She looks through any obstacles like walls, curtains, and even suitcases. Her task is to scan this guy's bag and guess his job. Can you help her? He's a doctor. There's a stethoscope and pills in his bag. What about this guy? Can you guess his job? He's an archaeologist. There's a brush and an ancient map in his bag. Here's the next bag. Can you help Jessica figure out this lady's job? She has a package of tests with grades, so she must be a teacher. Who is in bigger danger? It's this guy. He left a jar of gasoline next to his barbecue. Rick wakes up in the middle of the night in his mansion. He walks down the dark corridor to grab some snacks in the kitchen. Suddenly, he sees a figure in a creepy mask. It jumps out of nowhere, throws a balloon into Rick's chest, and runs away. The balloon blows up, and it turns out that it's filled with paint. Rick lives in this house with 3 sisters, Lily, Liza, and Laura. There are no other people here tonight, so he questions them to figure out who pulled the prank. Liza says, "I was walking to the bathroom, and I noticed Lily throwing something at your back. Laura says, I also saw Lily. She was running away to her room, taking off the costume on the go. And Lily says, I was in my room all the time. I had a video call with my boyfriend. So who pulled the prank? Laura and Lisa. The balloon crashed into Rick's chest, not his back. Bella returns home from a business trip. Oh no, someone broke the lock and robbed her apartment. The police arrive quickly and examine the crime scene. They question 3 suspects among the neighbors. Tyler says, I spent all day with my girlfriend at her house, and I returned 20 minutes ago, so I have no clue what happened here. Bianca says, I spent a couple of days at home. I packed my boxes and furniture because I'm moving out tonight. I didn't hear anything weird. And Nick says, I was walking my dogs in the park. We returned about 2 hours ago, but your door looked as usual. Who's lying? Bianca. Let's take a look inside her apartment. Her stuff and furniture are still unpacked. It doesn't look like she's moving out today. Can you guess who's not from this planet? This lady. She has tentacles instead of feet. What about these swimmers? Can you spot a guest from another planet? How about this guy? He can breathe underwater. Let's take a look at the subway. Who's not a real human? Well, this guy has 4 arms. What about these guys? Can you find a zombie? This lady, her fancy gloves are zombies' hands. How many guests from another planet can you spot in this picture? One, 2, 3, and 4. Nina returns to her workplace from lunch after 1 hour of absence. Wow, there's a huge bouquet of roses on her desk. The card says that the flowers are from a secret admirer. Nina questions her coworkers. Ethan says, I went to the bathroom 20 minutes ago. When I returned, the flowers were already here. Alex says, I spent the last hour discussing my promotion with the boss. And Jim says, I was having lunch with my girlfriend. She would never forgive me if I gave such fancy flowers to someone other than her. So, who's lying? Let's take a closer look at the gift packaging. These symbols are actually doubled letters, so it was Alex. Ah. 3 friends, Kyle, Willie, and Holly, go to an amusement park. Kyle brings the tickets. He was worried they'd be sold out. That's why he bought them in advance at a kiosk in the city. The friends walk up to the entrance, but the guard stops them. He wants to double-check their tickets. And it turns out that 2 tickets are fake. Can you spot the fake tickets? This ticket has a different watermark, and this one has a mistake in the code. Amy wakes up in a weird, dusty attic. She wanders around and sees 3 doors. Suddenly, the attic begins to get filled with water. Amy has to choose a door quickly to escape, but each door is hiding a danger. There's a giant hungry shark behind the first door. There are live electrical wires behind the second door, and there's a deep hole with shark spikes at the bottom behind the third door. Which door can Amy choose? If the attic is full of water, they can swim over the pit. Leah is a geography teacher. She unlocks her classroom early in the morning and sees that someone drew graffiti on the world map. Only 3 people are at the school at this hour. Leah questions them. The cleaner, David, says, "I arrived here first and spent all the time cleaning the floors in the corridor." Another teacher, Nina, says, "I just arrived from home and went straight to the cafeteria. I bought a takeaway coffee, headed to my class, and that's when I met you." The repairman, Mike, says, "I was fixing the pipes in the toilet. I don't have time for pranks." Who's lying? Nina said she bought some coffee, but her hands are empty. Only 3 people are at the school at the moment, so the local cafeteria can't be working. Oh, Nina, you fibber.
Paul has been driving for 7 hours on the freeway. Suddenly, his tire bursts. He calls for help, but the service worker says it will cost him $300. Paul gets angry. He's thirsty, hungry, and doesn't have any money. He's still sitting in the car when suddenly a miracle happens. 3 doors appear out of nowhere.
Wow!
Each door has a sign above showing where they lead. There's a bunch of delicious food behind the first door: burgers, spaghetti, lobster, and pizza. The second door hides all sorts of beverages, from energy drinks to sodas and iced teas. And finally, there's $1 million in cash behind the third door. Which door should Paul open first? First of all, Paul has to open his car door. Someone breaks into Nina's apartment the day before Halloween. She returns home from work, sees the mess, and calls the police. The door doesn't have any signs of a break-in, but one of the windows is open. The detective questions Nina's neighbors. Mrs. Bold says,
I was knitting a pair of gloves for my great-granddaughter.
Ethan says, I was working a 14-hour shift the day before, so I was sleeping all day. And Dan says, I had broken my leg, and I didn't leave home for 3 weeks. Who's guilty? It's Ethan. He was the only one able to climb into a window. Mia is hiking in the forest and gets lost. She comes across a witch's house. The witch offers to teleport Mia home, but there's a twist. 5 doors appear in front of Mia. The witch says,
Only one of them will take you home, and you only have one chance to choose the right door. The door you need is black. It's not next to the leftmost or the rightmost door. It's not the door in the middle either.
Which door should Mia choose? Mia has only 3 black doors to choose from. It's not the door next to the leftmost or the rightmost one, so the 4th door can be eliminated. It can't be the middle door as well. Therefore, Mia should enter the door on the left. Holly is trying to break into an ice castle to save her friend Edward, but there's a combination lock on the gate. Luckily, there's a clue carved in the ice here. The 162 combination. Only one number is correct and in the right place. As for the 842 combination, 2 numbers are actually correct, but in the wrong places. 526, nothing is correct. Can you help Polly crack the code? The passcode is 184. First, we exclude 2 and 6 because in the 3rd combination, no number is correct. In 842, 2 numbers are correct. So now we can conclude that the code contains 8 and 4. The last number must be 1, and since 1 is in its place, we can easily figure out where 8 and 4 should go.
Yes!
Anna wakes up in a dark dungeon without remembering what happened. She looks around and sees a metal door. Unfortunately, it's locked, and it requires not just one password, but 4. Anna has just one attempt to make it right. Gladly, next to the door, there's a sign with 4 words: apple, bread, chair, and dress. Can you guess the passwords for each keyhole? Let's take a closer look at the shapes of each keyhole and the shapes of the passwords.
Oh,
Some letters are bigger than others, and each word can fit right in. So bread should be put in the first keyhole. Apple fits into the second one, and the dress goes into the third keyhole. And finally, the chair should be put fourth.
oh,
Take a look at these people. One of them is not a real human. Can you guess who? It's the lady on the left, who eats a main course with a dessert spoon. What about this picture? Who looks suspicious? This guy. There's no reason to wear a warm coat. Can you spot a guest from another planet in this cafe? It's this lady. She's reading a magazine upside down. Leo opens a new art gallery. He needs to hire a manager to handle it. Leo finds these 3 candidates online and studies their profiles. Steve has recently graduated from college, but he's already completed several internships at fancy art galleries. Bella has been working in Europe for several years, and now she's looking for job opportunities in her hometown to be closer to her family. And Frank has 15 years of work experience. Unfortunately, one of these candidates is a liar. Can you guess who? Take a look at Leo's calendar. It's 2023 now. According to Frank's birthday, he should be around 22 years old at the moment. Therefore, he can barely have a 15-year work experience. Rick works for a large financial company. He gets outside the office and goes to the parking lot to go to a business meeting. But he doesn't find his Mercedes in the parking lot. He immediately calls the police. The police officers soon find Rick's car and start to chase the criminal, but he leaves the car and escapes to the park. The police search the arena and find 3 suspects. What are you doing here? Nick says, I'm jogging here. Mike says, I'm just waiting for a taxi to pick me up. And Peter says, I'm just walking and enjoying nature. Who stole the car? Mike. He's hiding a car key with the Mercedes logo. Kelly wakes up in a haunted hallway. To get outside, she needs to enter one of these 3 doors. But each option has a hidden danger. Venomous scorpions are crawling behind the first door. There's a siren behind the second door. She can turn any human into a zombie with her singing. And there's a fire-breathing dragon behind the third door. Which door is more or less safe for Kelly to choose? Kelly can put on her soundproof headphones and walk through the second door.
yes!
Mary goes to a jazz club after work. It's almost empty, but there's one handsome gentleman sitting in a chair next to a mirrored wall. Mary falls in love at first sight. She approaches him and introduces herself.
Hello.
But suddenly, Mary changes her mind. Why?
Oh,
The gentleman doesn't reflect in the mirror, so he's either a ghost or a vampire. Bob decides to go play basketball with his friends. Can you spot anything odd here? There's no hoop. Can you spot any mistakes in this picture? The ice cream cart lacks a wheel, and the lettering is wrong. Vicky arrives at her apartment after 2 hours of absence. Wow, there's a huge fruit basket by her door. The card says it's from a secret admirer. Vicky questions her neighbors. Mrs. Green says, "I've been walking my dog in a park for 3 hours. Then we grabbed some groceries and went home." Andrew says, "I left my apartment about 5 minutes ago to do some laundry in the basement. I only have one set of bed linen, so I have to wash it regularly. The basket was already at your door, but I didn't see anyone." Jacqueline says, "I was taking a bath. I turned the music loud so I couldn't hear anything from the corridor." Who's lying? Andrew said he has only one bedding set, and it should be inside the washing machine at the moment. But take a look at his apartment. His bed sheets are still on the bed, so his story must be fake. Can you spot a guest from another planet? This lady is too tolerant of heat. This gentleman has a knife instead of an arm. And this one didn't break the eggs before cooking them. Richard wants to rent a studio apartment in Boston. He asks an agent to find the property of his dreams. The agent comes up with 4 options, but only one of them is trustworthy. Can you help Richard make the right choice? The first studio looks very classy and chic, but the ceiling is leaking. According to the description, the second apartment was built centuries ago, so it just can't look so high-tech and fancy. As for the fourth option, it's too overpriced for a property that is located next to a toxic factory. So Richard should pick the third studio. Although it looks pretty messy, he can easily fix it.